It always comes to this. Morning guys, here to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off the new red patch on my top shoulder slash chest region, I guess, with Terry. And we went up into the neck area there too a little bit. The collarbone, clavicle region, traps, whatever you want to say. It's, I think, just about to start peeling. I see some peeling at the edges. It's been just about 2 days. Second passes tend to heal faster too. I know I go on about second passes, but they are very, very valuable and very little work comparatively. And yeah, there was almost no swelling, almost no bleeding, very little trauma, not much pain, and now we're healing in close to 2 days. Not even quite 2 days, and it's already starting peeling. So very, very highly recommended to do that. I mentioned that I was going to have another session with Rick. I've now had that session. I actually got more work out of the guy than I was expecting. We had a good session. He's been on a roll lately. If we can keep going like this, we should have it in another 30, 40 sessions. But realistically, yeah, no, we've got a lot of work to do. And like there's no sugarcoating that. This is in no way a humble brag, but at one point during my session with Rick yesterday, I felt all at once kind of like, you know what? This is a really painful sleeve. Like, this is probably the most painful sleeve you can get. We're doing everything with tiny mags, lots of line shading. Many things are going to be done more than once. And we're going to do around 60 sessions, probably. We're now 18 sessions in, and this was by no means me saying I was struggling, because I'm not at all. I enjoy getting my arm tattooed. But I had this sudden realization of like, oh, this is a really painful session. And I just don't really register that, you know? Like, I don't really think about pain much, unless it's like too much and you can't like put your focus anywhere else, you know? You can't divert. But typically when I sit down, I'm already done. Like, in my mind, I'm already somewhere else. I do a thing where I can actively dissociate. And even sometimes I don't do that. Sometimes I'll just focus. Typically when the pain is really bad, I'll just focus in on it. But no, I had this sudden realization of like, oh, this is a really, really painful session. And I think I take for granted sometimes, you know? When I'm talking about, you know, anyone can do this and this is no real magic trick, I think that patience is a real hard one. I think a lot of artists wouldn't be patient enough to do this sleeve, and I think a lot of people wouldn't be patient enough to sit for it. Now, all told, this sleeve, when it's done, is going to be an over 100-hour sleeve. There's no two ways about it. I've been running a loose track, and 18 sessions in, the number's smaller than you'd think for that many sessions, but we're already around 50 hours on this sleeve. So, and we're nowhere close. I think this sleeve is probably going to be around 150, 200-hour sleeve. It'll be the most I've put into any sleeve. So far, the rose sleeve, I think I've had 12 sessions on it, and I've had around 60 hours of work on it. But we put in 55, 60 hours. We put in longer sessions. Terry works longer. As a result, some of it healed a little worse than the work that Rick's doing. But I do have 2 more sessions that I want to do on this rose sleeve coming up. Just, I want to do the 2 sessions, top and bottom. I want to do third pass red and black, and I've mentioned that before. I think it's going to be a really great result. I haven't done third pass color before, so I'm not sure how it's going to take, but I have high hopes. With that said, I do have some ideas for ways to enhance the contrast in the sleeve further. they're just ideas for now because, as I say, everything is staying as I left it. So it's just like theoretical what ifs, and whenever it's at that point, I don't really want to fuck things up, and I'm not actually looking to ruin this sleeve or go too far with it. It has a nice look right now. It can be nicer, I feel. I think I can put some more color into it in places and create some more diversity and contrast in it, but I'm not hard set on any of those ideas yet, so that might still be a ways off. With that said, I'll show off what Rick and I got up to. So we did this whole section of my arm, and there's a lot of work in there, and to the untrained eye, it might not look like it. Like, that could look like less than it is to someone, but there's 2 different shades of black on black in there, and everything got power lined again for additional boldness, and everything got shaded. There's some suction cups put in there in places that are going to be colored in similarly to the ones up here. Everything that's happening up here will be carried forward down here, except there will be more dark purple brought up into the top. So you can kind of understand where we're going with the color scheme. And again, this was done last week. This is with the shading and the tentacles. So that's what that's most likely going to look like. See, there's quite a disparity in the fresh black and the healed black on black, but that it doesn't go away. As you can see here, this is months old, and we're going to be working in here next week. The part that's given Rick the most trouble so far on this arm has been my ditch, and so he's avoiding it like the plague. We will have to get into that again soon. I was teasing him about that yesterday. I was like, Rick, dance around that ditch all you want. We're going to have to tackle it. It's on the menu. It's coming up whether either of us like it or not. The only reason why I don't like it is because, well, it's probably my least favorite spot on the arm, but that being said, it can be saturated. This is actually probably the brightest spot of all the white, or at least the clearest spot of all the rose arm, and it's in the middle of my ditch, so you do get quite a crisp image there if you go for it. The last time Rick tattooed my ditch, it welted up right away. There's a lot of scar tissue in there, and Rick is very old school in the mindset that if the skin starts fighting him, he doesn't want to do it. I understand his thinking, but I can heal it. My body will take it. You've seen this hand. People have seen this hand, how it puffs up, how it craggles up. It all heals, though. It's still not perfect. You can see it's still not perfect. There's tons of scar tissue in there. We got closer than where we were, but we got a lot of work to do on that if I want it to be, solid. I don't know how much better it needs to be, though, because the whole point of this hand was to have, like, a tail of red off the fingers. It wasn't like I was really expecting to get them completely solid. It was just kind of a trail off. I think I'll do another session on them close to the end of the year, and then I'll probably leave them alone for a very long time. Yeah, I think 4 passes is kind of my limit on anything, and it's not because I can't do more than that on a particular quest or object or whatever. It's because I think you get into diminishing returns at some point, and I'm not looking to create much more scar tissue than I already have here. This hand is, it's pretty fucked. This hand won't be half as bad because there isn't that scar tissue. By the way, you can see here now while I have this up how the red highlights did. In the shading of the moon, I don't think we packed it dense enough. Full disclosure, I'll always be honest with you guys. There's a red tinge there, and in places there's red in the shading, but we didn't get it packed in solid enough. If I care, I can do that again. The outline stayed really cool, and that was the main part. The shading was an additional whatever, just having fun. We were just having fun fucking around, essentially, for that one. Yeah. So I've got a session coming up 2 days. It's actually going to be my birthday when I get tattooed with Terry this week. We're going to cruise through the third pass red for sure. It's going to be like a hot knife through butter doing that. I'm really curious to see how bright, or not bright, but how clear that red will stay. I think we can get it, like, my goal is always to be able to get it as solid as my neck. It's never to get it any better than that. Even the sides of my face took pretty well this time, but really my neck and this whole area up here has stayed really, really clear. The arms, they're just a bit more weathered. You know, they see the elements more. I've got more scarring and stuff, and you're more likely to scuff up your arms or whatever else, and so it's just going to be tougher skin. It's never going to take the color as well as something that doesn't get beat up as much. For example, my inner thighs, the blackout I did on my inner thighs are about the darkest black I've seen anywhere in the world. They're pitch black, as close to pitch black as you can get in skin. Whereas my lower legs and my arms were lightened up quite a bit over time. So different spots will take the ink better or worse, right? This shouldn't need to be said, but in case it does. Yeah, I kind of tailed off a bit, as I do, but I'm not taking for granted the journey that I'm on is a painful one, even though I'm callous to it and I'm not always super concerned about it. I do realize that if you don't like pain or if you really hate pain, this kind of work probably isn't for you. And this is not my humble brag about how much of a badass or tough guy I am. It's just, I had the sudden realization. I told my wife when I got home, I was like, yeah, this is a really painful sleeve. You know, Kevin and I back in, I think it was 2020, we reacted to white on black tattoos for our first one. And there was a sleeve in there. It was a full white and black on black sleeve. And I said in there, you know, this is the most painful sleeve you can get because it's full saturation, highly detailed, which means done with smaller mag groupings. I feel small mags are the most painful, full disclosure. Lots of lines, over scar tissue, you know, highlights, all of that done over scar tissue, which, you know, if you're in for a color on black or white on black, black on black sleeve, you probably had full sleeves beforehand, and for most people, those full sleeves probably weren't the best to execute, so you probably got quite a bit of scarring from them. In my case, some of my old work was done well and some of it wasn't. That's a byproduct of working with no less than 30 artists over the years. My new suit looks a lot more consistent now. You can argue that the roses and the monsters don't make sense together. However, there are only two themes. So whether you like the two themes or not, that's the benefit of only working with a few artists versus working with many, many artists. I had a lot of fun doing that the first time, and I think that there might be an aspect of that on my legs for my third suit, but I still haven't decided about those, and I'm not going to get too carried away talking about those. I will just say before I wrap this one up, I've got 3 sessions with Terry left coming up before I start working on my back blackout. So many people have asked me when I'm getting to it. It's appeared a lot in my videos lately, just through happenstance. It hasn't been something I've meant to happen, but it showed up a lot just in kind of the clips where I'm showing off my shoulder or chest blackout, whatever, or red out. And people are like, oh, you've got negative space on your back. Yes, I know. I'm going to get to it. I can't wait to get to it. There is only one thing I'm wondering about, is there's quite a bit of stuff that ties in from the top to the back, or the top of the back to the front of the back, and again at the base, that's going to be a bit hard to work around, and that's what's been giving me pause. Is if I can't wrap my mind around something, and I mean me, if I can't wrap my mind around how we're going to do it, then I can't sign off on it. And that's the same reason I haven't blacked out my ears or tattooed my ears. I can't wrap my mind around how to do it. There's just so much thin tissue and big holes everywhere to work around that it's really hard to fathom a good way to do it. And that's similar to my back. It hasn't been because I'm afraid of tattooing my back, or I love that back piece more than anything, or it's a nice piece. There's nothing wrong with it. It's had more than enough time now, for sure, considering everything else that I've loved that I've blacked out. But with that said, it's just a bit of a mind fuck to wrap my mind around cleaning it up. There's going to be a lot to clean up. It has to be handled delicately. It can't just be charged at. I am really curious. Terry's going to be using 49 mags on my back, and I can't wait to feel that. We don't need to worry about getting the darkest black. I do want a smooth black, and 49 mags are great for that. The reason I say we don't need to worry about getting the darkest black is I have a feeling, though it's untested, that lighter black covers easier. With that said, I would cover anything anyway. I covered my chest, and that was very, very black, if anyone remembers. That was, like, very black. It had not settled, really. So you can cover darker black. It's not that you can't. It's that I think it's probably easier to cover lighter black, which would make sense, I would think. With that said, I already have an idea for my back piece, but I think I'm probably going to let my back settle longer than I let my chest settle. Partly because I'm not really that eager to start another huge project. I am and I'm not. But also because I'll have other things to work on in the meantime anyway. So, but I have a really nice idea for my back already, and I just need to get this done and get it settled and taken care of so that I can start laying the groundwork for that, because I have a pretty elaborate plan for the back already, and it's going to tie in pretty well to the front when we get there. Anyway, I won't yammer at you guys any longer. I'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day.